Lovely touch from him though. Harry Kane, Lucas Moura, can you do something, please? Last chance, Matt Doherty!
Oh, you shite! There could be
From
the dead to the
back it up now, Go and win it!
Let's go
Last
for
chance! Stephen Bergwijn! Stephen Bergwijn's through! Win it, Stephen! Come on!
Yes! He's won it! He has won it! Oh my God! Oh my God! We did it!
Sorry, everybody. I forgot to put the camera back on. I hope you're all happy and healthy doing the things you love and those you love to do them with. How you been? It's been at least, I don't know, 12 hours or something. 24 hours, maybe a little bit less since we last got together. Hope you're all crack-a-lacking. We got some interesting stuff. Really interesante. We got some transfer news, views and clues. We got an update on Matisse Tell. We have an update on Manor Solomon, a juicy one, a better one. Also, an update on Ange Postecoglou. Maybe the former story about Manor Solomon and Ange Postecoglou have something interlined. I don't know what the word is. I've not woken up yet. I haven't had a slurp of cider. What is crack-a-lacking? We've also got a little bit about the... I did a video on this yesterday. I said the story about Johnny Cardoso. It's real. And we have to make a decision on this one, because if we don't, then there's other teams that are sniffing around. And today we're hearing all about it. I don't know whether they're listening to me or I'm listening to them, or like the zeitgeist is all cyclical. This is what happens in the world of football news. We all just sort of make stories up, and then there's someone else talks about it, and then that becomes a story, and then it goes like a snowball down the hill. Look who we got in the background. I didn't know if he was going to join us. We should be out of here by 5:15, an hour and 10, hour and 5, so we can go and watch Palace against Villa, an interesting game. But we got Johnny for us to go through today's football finance news. Johnny, how you doing, mate? I didn't expect you. I didn't think you were going to.
No, listen, I've got one eye on the. Any of you do the fantasy football? Do you know what I love about fantasy football? Games you wouldn't normally give a shit about, you care about because of the obviously the points that are on offer, and you get annoyed if someone scores a last-minute goal. It's nothing to do with.
Yeah. What do you mean? Ipswich have just scored an equaliser against Newcastle. It's outrageous.
Outrageous.
You all right apart from that?
Yeah, all good. I don't know what you're actually talking about as far as the finance is concerned.
So I'll tell you now. We've got 5 stories to get through first. We're going to rattle through them. It's about transfer news, views, and clues. Nothing new, but updates on stories that exist. And then
I was just going to say to you, whilst you were having your sabbatical, I was talking quite a bit about this. What I thought was extremely good news that Cherrington, the former head of Citibank, came on board along with Vinny, my cousin Vinny, from Arsenal. Now, for me, that is ball dressing for inward investment to give credibility to either the Qataris or Saudis.
Mm-hmm. And well, maybe not just them, but this is where we're going to go today. I'll let you
I'm just going to say, I think it's crucial, really, from the point of view that the capital-intensive projects that Spurs have, we do not have. Wow, unlucky. About that.
How much? Super 6 is a freebie as well, isn't it? It's a free bet.
Yes, six results.
You got 5 out of 6 perfect score lines. Insane. You're a smart man. I'll bring you into my betting circle. Sorry, Johnny, carry on, mate.
No, I'm just saying. So you need credibility, and the capital intensive projects like the hotel where they've only got enough money to do the foundations.
Well, they haven't though. This is the thing, right? This is part of today's story. So we've got, yes, we'll talk about Sherrington, we'll talk about Vinay, and I agree with you, your sentiments, right? It's more about that than it is about other things. But Vinay obviously knows what he wants the football side as well. So he can bring in and come and hopefully bring some structure and some more solidarity into the club in June, which would be lovely to see. But today, the story is, and I know you want to, I don't know if you want to, when we get round to it in a minute, like tell us what you were telling me on Twitter. I don't know if you can or whatever, but we can talk about that if you can. If not, we can skip over it. That wasn't what I was going to talk about today. It wasn't about Qatar for me. It's about David Blitzer, Blackstone CEO, who's in charge of $32 trillion of funds under management. He's worth about $3 billion himself, and what he's doing with his holding in Crystal Palace and John Textor. I did a video I think it's one of my better performing videos, done like 20,000 views back around Christmas time when I first spoke about this.
Textor's trying to get out now as he's back into Everton, and he's trying to
get out. Blitzer is also, he wants more. When the story back in December was, and we'll come to it in a minute in more detail, but the story back in December was he wanted to take over the entirety of a Premier League club. But then he also wants to move into multi-club ownership, but not with the teams that he currently has. And there's the update there, which we'll come to, is he is about to raise £450 million by selling 3 of his other club assets in America mainly. And how close is 450 million to the amount of money that needs to be on cash for a certain person? And that's the interesting part. Now, the other interesting part is that there's also this incredible story out that's come from MCO Insights. I did a blog on it earlier. I was talking about the Premier League clubs, the hidden millions, and it looks at all of the different 20 Premier League clubs and how many associated companies they have, because there's a very clever accounting going on where essentially you can move your money around that's associated with a club, but that's not technically within a club. And by doing so, you can essentially like reposition certain entities depending on what they're into and what they do.
Which is what we've said about Daniel for a long, long time with all the sub companies.
Yeah, but it's not just him. Like I'll give you an example. City Football Group, they've got 13 subsidiaries that span 5 countries. That creates a circular financial ecosystem, according to this report, which makes sense to me. This structure allows intra-group transactions that inflate Manchester City's financial fair play compliant revenue by 22% annually. So just by like not having it all under one umbrella and then having it here, there, and everywhere, you can push numbers around on a plate, and then depending on what those entities sort of investments are and what category you file them under, you can move them for tax purposes to other areas of the world. Then you can introduce, now with the third party transactions and the director loan deals all up in the air because of what happened back in January as well. It's all a madness, but it's a fascinating kind of story that we're going to try and merge together here, Johnny. So I know you're going a little bit blind, but hopefully we can work it off.
Do you know what's beautiful about that? You can't prove that the overpricing is not correct. You would never prove that in a court of law.
Yeah, because valuation's in the eye of the beholder, right? It's like love.
Correct. You cannot prove a kid who's never kicked a ball isn't worth £20 million. You can't. Yeah. You can't say that a company isn't willing to pay Man City more money than anyone else for sponsorship due to their success. And I want to align with the brand, even though it's still within that ecosystem, which is why I said to you, for example, if QSI were to come in with Spurs and they would say, well, QSI, they don't want to have anything within QSI, but then they have a company with QIA, right, which is the big umbrella of the QSI. QIA is the Qatari Investment Association, right? It's the big umbrella.
I think the A stands for authority.
It's just a subsidiary. So, for example, you could have Qatar Airways paying well over the odds to sponsor Spurs, who are in QIA, even though they're separate companies. Technically, they are one big ecosystem. And a bit like what we were talking about Aston Villa, the Egyptian owner, and his links to the Saudi boys, and how convenient it was to sell John Duran to the Saudis. You can't prove the Premier League is not smart enough to prove that these deals are legitimate.
It's also it's just unlawful. Like, it always struck me as odd, but I guess I'm a little bit blinded by my desire to see the leveling of the playing field. That I hoped that for once the Premier League would have their ducks in a row, but they don't, and it never really made any sense. Like if you can, like the only comparable metric, you could look at property and say, like, you know, you look at the house across the street, right? If the house across the street, if it's similar to yours in the same neighborhood with the same standard, the same style, whatever, if that goes for 20% more, then you should expect to be able to sell your house for 20% more. But there's nothing stopping anyone paying 100% more or 50% less, depending on the nuances of the person, the buyer and the seller and everything else, right? The desire for it. So, but yeah, in terms of like how the Premier League thought that the Premier League laws are sort of somewhat different, to be honest, it's a little bit laughable on reflection. I should have probably called it out before I did. But anyway, let me just, we've got lots to talk about, mate. And we've got so much to ramble through. But let me just quickly say hello to people that are in the house. Merovingian, 1980, yawn, more crap. What is it now? Are they struggling to sell the season tickets to the current reliable fans? This club is in deep trouble and Levy knows it. Need to be smart. We will be the next Leeds. I mean, that's a cheery comment to start with. But I know how Merovingian, I know which way he leads. Good to see you. Danny Meridan, good to see you, mate. Excited. I'm excited to see you excited, buddy. Everyone was kung fu fighting. No idea. No idea what that's relating to. Must be some tangential relationship there with something else that's going on. Big up Sean and all. This will be interesting. I hope so, Tot Spurs. Good to see you, mate. Well. Drew's in the house. Smash a like and subscribe to the channel. Appreciate you. We're also on Sean Butler TV, Football Inc. and Twitter. So get over to Johnny H3232 on Twitter as well, and get on to Talking Tottenham 80. Is it 1882, Johnny?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like all the links are in the description.
And on, if any of you are on TikTok
as well.
It's Talking Tottenham 1882. I lost a 10,000 follower account on that one for a Vuskovic video, so I've had to start again, and I got 180 followers though. Welcome back.
TikTok's, mate. Just stay clear. It's fuck TikTok, mate. It's just like no offense, mate, but like it's not to you, but to TikTok. No offense to TikTok owners, but like I don't trust anyone. But like anyway, Super Spurs TV, Blaine, Sean, I might need this stream for ASMR today. What's ASMR stand for? Something in massage and relaxation? I don't know. This is me thinking about the Bodo brasses again. To Sean, to send me nodding off. The hangover I have today is woefully bad. Ooh, I feel for you, mate. Hope you, panel, and chat are all good. Yeah, I'm good, mate. I think Johnny is too. Good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see you. Right, guys, we've got so much to get through, so I'm not going to have time to get into everyone. Hopefully, you can all take one big giant hello from all of us. Big up, guys. Come on, you Gunners, says Anthony Clark. Big up to you, Anthony Clark. Good to see you, mate. We don't get too many non-Tottenham fans in the house, but member for 22 months, Drewzilla, the only channel worth listening to when it comes to this stuff. The Oracle himself. Big up, Sean. Always a great watch. Appreciate you, mate. And Johnny. Well, I think you might have seen this in before Johnny arrived, but yeah, Johnny and I are trying to carve out this little niche. I think it is my passion, and Johnny's very much on board it all as well. Please, rat-a-tat-tat-tat, the like button for Sean. Love that, Graham. Love that. We got a super chat from Daniel Field saying Sean and Henry's bogus adventure to Norway. Kudos. Can't wait, mate. Thank you very much. That'll pay for about 10 seconds with Olga, should we call her? I'm only joking, by the way, guys. I don't spend my whole time in saunas. I promise you. Only half of it. Where else are we up to? We've got Roy Viking in the house. When you come to Brodo, you absolutely must go to Brigurikaya. Is that how you say it? And try the grilled stockfish. Oh, is that a place we looked up, Johnny? I think we looked it up, didn't we? That's yeah, we saw that one. Grilled stockfish. Okay, it truly is the taste of Norway.
I mean, what is the stockfish? Could you tell us, Roy, what is the nearest thing to stockfish? I mean, are we talking more haddock, more plaice, more Dover sole, more shark? Yeah, let us know. Thank you very much for the super chat, mate. Of course, you should order a Nordlands beer to go with it. You simply can't visit Bodo without Nordlands beer. I've certainly never even heard of that beer, let alone tasted it. I love a beer. So let's go. Good to see Aussie Ange. Thank you very much for super chat. Very nice of you, Roy. And I can't wait to meet you at the Tottenham end of the second leg, mate, or the first leg. Right. It's like rock eel, apparently, says Mike Chase. Oh, yeah, might pass on that one.
Is it not nice, is it?
Well, I'm not ill. Whenever I think of eel, I remember as a kid, my mum used to get jelly
deals. Yeah, horrible.
jelly deals and cockles. And come on, son, try that. And this make me gag.
Yeah.
So
I hear you. All right, let's start before we get into the financial stuff. Let's get into some of the stories for us, Johnny. We only spend 10 minutes on these ones, mate. First of all, noise out today. I've just got Give Me Sport here, the exclusive, but it's also banded around all of the big ones as well. Apparently, so the original price for Matisse Tell was at 40, was to give us a buyout option for 42 million. But apparently, it looks like Tottenham are more likely to be able to, because Bayern Munich are willing to negotiate, according to this report, and also they haven't got any intention of integrating him back into the team. £30 million. Where's the actual number? Hang on, where is it? I'm not trying to quote nonsense to you. Maybe it's on a different article. Maybe I got the wrong article up. No, I haven't. This is the right article, I'm sure of it. Anyway, £30 million was the story. Would you pay £30 million for Matisse Tell, mate?
No, not currently. I think we have to wait, Sean. I'll tell you what I was going to say to you. I think we have to wait to see how we get on in the Europa League. If we win the tournament, then I'll renegotiate 25 million plus sell on. Yeah. If we don't win, I'm not spending 35, 40 million pounds when we're going to have very little money to spend, when we really need we need somebody for now. We really need now players. I
tell you what, I get the vibes from him. I agree with everyone that says he hasn't earned it, he hasn't done it, he hasn't justified it, his output's not good enough. Yada yada yada. I don't disagree. But just like you and I get gut feelings about players like David Hansko, right? Like I have about Skov Olsen, like the other player went from Bruges and went to Germany on the left hand side. Like you get feelings, even Lucas Bergvall, we see him for 5 minutes and we just know. Like I remember you talking about Eberechi Eze when you saw him for QPR back in the day as well, and you just know. Yeah. I think that Matisse Tell has it. I love his energy. I love his work rate. I know he's a bit raw. I love his confidence, and I think this kid does have it. I really do, and I'd pay £30 million for him because I don't really have any confidence left in Sonny. I know Sonny's still a top goal scorer, one of the top goal scorers this season, but I just think at some point we have to look for a new direction. And I also I hear the argument about we've got 25 wingers, none of them are really good enough. Yeah, I get all that, I do, but sometimes you just got to trust your gut, and my gut is saying, like, or maybe another loan for another year. I don't know. Maybe another £10 million loan, whatever. I don't mind, but I don't want to see this story end.
Can I ask you a question? Right? Can I ask you a question? If you know we don't have much money to spend in the summer transfer window, when we need a six, where we need a backup left back,
yeah.
This is all I'm saying is I don't have a problem per se. But I think I have to work out what sort of money we're going to be left with after the window. I've got to tell you something. First 10 minutes of today's game for Leighton Orient, okay, against Wickham, he put in 2 balls that would have had Solanke,
Jamie Donnelly,
Charlison salivating.
Jamie Donnelly,
yeah, Jamie Donnelly. He needs to be back in our squad next season. Yeah. I think he's good enough now. The quality of balls that he whips in is exactly what this club has needed.
And he's got the confidence to do crazy, unbelievably wild things with the ball at his feet. He's not afraid to look up and bang it from halfway. He's not afraid to do that. Like it was that goal he scored last week where he flicks it up and then pivots off his left and smashes it. That was almost like it was like a B-Tech version of Thierry Henry's goal.
Yeah, it was Dele Alli, Thierry Henry. And what about the goal he scored against Man City?
Yeah, halfway line. Should have been a goal. Yeah. And look, he's done that 3 or 4 times in the youth team. I've got no problem with Jamie Donnelly. I don't know where I'd prefer to see Jamie Donnelly in the 10 rather than a winger spot, which is why I'm kind of also okay. We played the game last night about sell players, buy, sell, keep, whatever. Yeah. I don't really mind if James Maddison does want to sunset his time at Tottenham. I'm not like I don't mind if he stays, but I don't really mind if he goes. I'm not that bothered because I do think Jamie Donnelly for me is I think he looks like a better 10 than he does off the wing. I just think he's too useful to be stuck out on the wing waiting for the ball to come to him.
I don't agree. I don't disagree.
But listen, look, that £30 million we're talking about for, we'll move on because I've got so much to talk about, not a lot of time. This is the next story, right? Oh, maybe this is where I got the £30 million from. No, I'm sure I saw £30 million from Matisse Tell. Let's assume I was right about that. Leeds United one step closer to Manor Solomon deal as 30 million Tottenham update emerges.
So what did I say to you remember last night? I said to you minimum 20 million, and you went, no, we're not going to get that for him. 15.
Yeah. No, I said 12. I said I'd take 12 for him. If we can get 30 million quid for Manor Solomon, and this is Leeds United.news, I don't know, it's just obviously just the fan channel, but they're saying that because of the new investment that's going in that direction into Leeds, that it says here Tottenham reportedly value Solomon at just 15 million, but that 30 million pound. Oh no, here we go. That's it. Spurs are ready to planning to negotiate a deal with Bayern at around 30 million. That's where I'm getting confused. So the 30 million pound would be for for Matisse Tell, and 15 million pound for Manor Solomon. To me, like a 15 million pound net swing, that's okay. Because I'd even forgotten Manor Solomon was a part of the football club until recently.
So listen, Manor Solomon, look, too much disrespect, if you want my honest opinion. 20 goals, 20 goal assists, 20 GA this season, right? Coming back from injury. I'm sorry, he's going to come to the Premier League and he's going to be scoring goals. And people are going to say, why did we sell him so cheap?
Yeah.
That's what I believe.
I mean, I just disagree. I don't see anything in him. I
don't
rate
experience. Matisse Tell is promise.
And what's Manor Solomon?
Well, 20 GA, right?
In the Championship.
Okay, what about when he was playing for Shakhtar Donetsk in the Champions League, ripping it up there? Why do you think clubs were trying to sign him?
He's done it like very small here, and he's injury prone, mate. Like, he'll come back to Tottenham and get injured on his first day and spend it like he'll be like a Wilson Odobert story.
But this is what I don't understand. You will spend 40-50 million pound on promise, right, of a guy who scored a penalty, a tap-in, and a goal in the last 25 games, nearly 1,000 minutes. It's not.
Well, I wouldn't spend 40-50 million pound on Matisse Tell. That's the point. I'd spend 30 million pound if you were getting 15 million pound back for Manor Solomon.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. But like, I think that Matisse Tell has. You're right. It is promise, but like, and again, I'll hop back to this idea where I said before, like, you're paying. It's like Harrods Tupperware. You're massively overpaying for the same product you can get in Tesco's Basics. But I think that Matisse Tell does have something in him that I look at and go,
he couldn't be a good player. I'm really not. I'm not going to argue with you on it. Well, what I'm saying to you is that where we need to spend our money right now? For me, no. We need a monster six. We need a great left back. We need a player. If Jamie Donnelly's not coming back, I'm not going to sit there and rely on James Maddison to have a go. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. I hear you on that, on the priority list. He's not, Matisse Tell isn't top of the priority list, but if you can find a way to make it work, I'd rather that. I'm not trying to block Mikey Moore's progress either. And I think that if we had a good manager in next season, there'd be space. But I haven't seen anything from Mikey Moore that gets apart from just what I've heard, that he's this wonder kid, generational talent. But I haven't seen anything of that in a first team shirt. And I know he's 17, I get it. But I've said 1,000 times, if you're good enough to be in the first team squad, and then you're old enough to be in the first team squad. But once you're in the first team squad, you have to be compared and contrasted to other people in the first team squad. And for me, he hasn't done anything. He's not done as much. He's not been as exciting as the few moments we've seen from Wilson Odobert, and he's not been as exciting as the few moments we've seen from Matisse Tell, to me, thus far. Yeah. We shall see. Next story, mate, is this might put the whole roadblock on the Manor Solomon story anyway, because apparently Leeds United are going to make a move for Ange Postecoglou, according to the Daily Express, if to replace Daniel Farke ahead of their return to the Premier League in the 25-26 season.
That would be fantastic.
Fantastic. You think Ange would do a good job with Leeds?
Well, first thing he'd have to do would be to get rid of Manor Solomon, because he didn't rate him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he would. Yeah, and he'd probably get rid of Who was the other? Who was the centre back that we sold to Leeds?
Flipping hell, I just saw him today. Begins with R. Roden, Joe Roden.
Joe Roden, there you go, spot on. And the other thing is, if he does go to Leeds, maybe the Gray family will sit there and go, you know what, Harry, get out of Leeds, go and join Iriola or whoever else at Tottenham, because you're going to play some more minutes now. You'll be respected.
I don't know whether they'll get Harry out now that he's now that Archie's sort of fallen off of a cliff at the club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let's hope so. Anyway, let's hope so. All right, we've got so much to get through, mate. So let me move on to the next one and go out the way. Accept and continue. Let's talk a little bit about Johnny Cardoso, mate. Is this the guy for you? Because if he isn't for you, and if he isn't for Tottenham, then Ruben Amorim is more than happy to step in. Man United are plotting a swap deal for Johnny Cardoso, despite Tottenham Hotspur already having reached an agreement for the La Liga ace, according to reports. Cardoso was a 23-year-old defender, broke into international in Brazil before joining Betis in a £6 million deal. Cardoso has made a name for himself as one of the best number sixes in Spain, as he is a strong tackler who excels at winning duels before retaining possession. Cardoso has confirmed that Spurs have first refused to sign him in the summer for €25 million, 20 million quid. The deal was agreed when Spurs sold Lo Celso to Betis in August last year. However, Spurs have yet to activate their option for Cardoso, and they could now see him join Premier League rivals United. According to the United reporter Sam Cohen, Cardoso is the latest midfielder on United's shortlist. Yada, yada, yada. They're weighing up a formal approach. Yada, yada, yada.
You know what makes me laugh?
They swap Anthony and take in Cardoso.
You know what makes me laugh about this? You were talking about, how good he is, and we rate Ugarte. Yeah, here we are. We got a link here with Cardoso to come in and replace the player that they bought as their six. Which is,
I think it would be to replace.
The guy, the six, really?
Yeah, but who's the guy who's on 350 grand a week at Man United? Casemiro. Thank you. My mind's not working yet. I think it'll be to replace him. I think they'd want a double.
Ugarte's the six, unless they're playing a double six pivot.
No, but it would just be like they'd have rotation, like an A team or a B team or whatever, like two options. There's no noise that Ugarte is going to leave United.
Listen, Ange didn't know what rotation was until he had an injury crisis. Then he said he can't rotate. But no, listen, for me, what sort of deal was that? We paid 35 million for Gianni Lo Celso, got nothing for it.
Yeah.
So
not good enough.
I mean, what are we going to? We can buy him for 25 million.
20 million euros. So 20 million quid, yeah.
Okay, so we can buy him for 20 million quid. So what did we get for Lo Celso? 15? Mm-hmm. So that means that Johnny Cardoso is like 35 million.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. No, every time it's gone with Johnny Cardoso, he's had a good game. I thought, right, I must watch the next game. And then he's been underwhelming. He's been a bit.
Yeah, you said that last night. I mean, I wasn't paying that much of attention to him until recently. It was only when I stumbled across a highlight reel, and then I went on the Y Scout and started digging into him and looking at him. And I think he does solve a massive issue that we haven't solved. And I think that one's probably more realistic if we don't win the Europa League, as long as the player wants to come. If you do win the Europa League, plus all this stuff we're going to talk about in a minute with the finances, like I said, we said this yesterday, said it 1,000 times, mate. Like, what's going on at Tottenham right now is bigger than just the football, but what's happening in the football world is massive. Sliding doors moment, what happens over the next month of Tottenham's present tense and future tense. On top of that, you have all sorts of things going on in the background with the likes of, like you say, Vinay coming in, Big Vin, with he's going to want to stamp his own authority over what's going on. You're definitely probably going to see a change of coach. Definitely, probably is an oxymoron. You're probably going to see a change of coach. You're probably going to see with it a change of director of football, out with the Johan Lang, in with the whoever, and maybe Paratici, maybe not. You might see some changes of coaches. You still might see some changes of medical team. You're going to see a lot of players going out the door if we don't win, and certainly some going out the door if we do win. And if we don't win, then the budgets obviously will probably be restricted. And I think that Johnny Cardoso is probably a player that makes more sense in a world where we don't win it. And if we do win it, then maybe we'll have the budget to be able to go and do bigger things. Because as I'm about to show you guys, Spurs are not as broke as even the accounts that suggests that we're actually doing better than most people would have thought we are, given how terrible last season was. Those accounts were still very good, but if you look at the amount of money that there is floating around the overall organisation that are outside of the Tottenham Hotspur thing, it's actually quite incredible. £260 million more money is in the club or in the Tottenham Hotspur umbrella than is accounted for on Tottenham Hotspur's books. It's quite incredible. We'll come to that in a second, mate. But so Johnny Cardoso, though, you're not that au fait with him. You're like maybe.
I am au fait with him. I just, if you're asking me for a 6, I want Prem proven, so I go Yao Gomez. I mean, if I'm going to go overseas, there's only one man for me, and that's Edison at Atalanta. But that ship has sailed, unfortunately, for us, because we've dicked around. That is the player we should have signed 18 months, 2 years ago. And we'd be sitting on an absolute monster at the moment. He'll probably end up going to a Liverpool or a Man United or a top club, Edison. Mark my words.
Yeah. Spurs King saying the fans calling Tell shit now were the same people asking for Tell to be included in the Kane deal 2 years ago.
I'm not saying he's shit. I've never said he's shit. All I'm saying is that I'd like to reanalyze this. If we win the Europa League, then I'm all for it because we will have plenty of money. If our budget is limited, and that's by signing Tell, doesn't allow us to sign a monster 6, a backup left back, and an alternative to James Maddison, then I would rather not, or maybe do a loan, like you said, a loan for another year with an option.
Yeah, just not at the same price per minute. £10 million for 4 months, 5 months is
£50 million. Yeah, let's put it like that.
Yeah, I agree. All right, moving swiftly forward. We've got the next one for us here, guys, which is I'm not sure if you can see that on the screen. Here we go. Tottenham well placed to agree signing of Dutch sensation on a free. Final striker Zeppakino Redmond could be a bargain signing for Tottenham Hotspur this summer. Sources have told Football Insider. I mean, Feyenoord striker, we like a bit of Feyenoord, mate. Daniel Levy has big plans in North London this summer, as Football Insider revealed on the 19th of April that an overhaul of Tottenham squad is on the horizon, with Ange Postecoglou highly likely to be sacked. I mean,
the top there, Sean, said it all, right? Actually, when you just said Tottenham well placed to agree signing of Dutch sensation on a free, I thought I've never heard of him.
He's on a free. He's dishonourable.
Yeah.
So,
bargain signing.
He's 18 years old.
Bargain.
He's got four appearances, 2 goals. He's only played 14% of starting 11 minutes. He's a striker. Look, I haven't even had time to look him up, to be honest. I don't know anything about him. When I first saw the story, I was like, wait, who? I watch a lot of Feyenoord. I don't know this guy. I don't know who he is. But
starting a crash.
Yeah. And Pete O'Rourke just makes these things up, doesn't he? But according to sources, tomato sauce, HP sauce, and
the only sauce I want is hoisin.
Yeah, they're nice.
Yeah.
Do you know anything about this guy though? Before we move on, I don't know anything about him, to be honest.
I'm afraid I don't. I don't profess, like some people on this sphere, to have watched him as a 3-year-old and his progress. No.
Yeah, I don't know anything about him at all. Apparently, we were also looking at some 18-year-old from PSG or somewhere called Axel something or other yesterday. I saw. But again, haven't seen anything, haven't heard anything, don't know anything about them, so I'm not going to sit here and claim that I do, like you, mate. It's I don't know why everyone wants to be. I said I've been Ange out since before Ange came to the club. I've been Harry Kane out since his ankles went. Like no one's paying attention, but no one cares either whether you were or you're making that up. No one gives a shit. You know what I mean? Let's move to the next one, mate. Here we go. In fact, we're talking about Harry Kane. This is the new one. Harry Kane ultimatum is being given, apparently, according to Lee Wilmot, head of football at Football London. So a bit more credible. Tottenham have been told to re-sign Harry Kane next year. I think this is harking back to an interview with Martin Jol. And you won't like this, mate, but I'm going to read it out to you. This is the quote, right? It goes without saying. This is Martin Yole said this at the casino the other day. It would have worked better having Harry Kane starting and having the option of Solanke coming on from the bench. Like every club has, every good club has, they should have at least 2 higher quality options at number 9. I would buy Harry Kane back if the clause in this contract for 50 million or 60 million is true. And of course, he wants to come back. He's a proven goal scorer in the Premier League and a Tottenham legend. I really like Dominic Solanke. I remember seeing him on loan from Chelsea at Vitesse in Holland and liking him then. He's a very good player, but with no disrespect, he's not at that level of a top striker. Listen, when you say no disrespect, Martin, you haven't even given any time to talk about Johnny's mate, Richarlison. He's saying you need at least 2 high quality options at number 9. He hasn't even mentioned Richarlison. What's he doing there, mate? It's a bit of a slap in the face to Richie, is it?
Well, I don't know. It's not exactly a compliment for Dom. Is it?
It's not one neither, is it? Really? Yeah. It's basically saying
nowhere, but I don't care. But I loved him. So Mark, I respect you, mate. I respect you. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. No, I'd like to see Dom Solanke scored from open play and like some technical goal, not something bundled in.
He scored a good one.
When? Last year?
I'm trying to think which one it was.
Well, he hasn't scored. He scored 1 penalty since January the 4th. So
okay, must be December then. But the one where he took it down and like used his body weight and then shifted the ball to the right hand side and then put it bottom bins. Remember that one?
Like I said, months ago.
Rare. Would you take Harry Kane back for 60 million quid? Would you drop the budget on him right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, same. All day long and twice on Thursdays.
I'd have Harry and Poch win double, and Poch would play the kids. Donnelly would get minutes. I mean, I'm not being funny. If Donnelly was whipping these balls in, that he was whipping in today for Orient, for Harry Kane, he'd be having a field day. The curl on his shots, he's got a beautiful left foot. Honestly,
it really has, mate. No, you haven't got to convince me, mate. I'm buying it. I'm buying it, mate. He's he looks the real deal. It's just a question of whether or not it's easy to do it at that level, but with a little bit fewer seconds that you have on the ball. But he looks like an instinct player, doesn't he? He's not afraid to do anything. He looks like it all comes so natural to him.
United. I was at that game. Is that Man U away? It must be. Yeah, it must be Man U away. Surely. I'm sure it was Man U away. I was at that game. Seems like a lifetime ago.
Do you think Richie would be the beneficiary of a good Donnelly?
Oh yeah. Definitely. Listen, look, the thing is, as bad as he was,
got open a tin of beans.
Yeah. Let me tell you something. As bad as Richie was in that first sort of 75 minutes, you could see he's rusty and he hasn't been playing for months, but he still got in a position 3 or 4 times to actually have the attempt to actually get in there to try and score. Whereas every time the ball comes into the box, Solanke, who's more so wanky at the moment, is outside the box. He needs to be in the box.
Yeah, again, though, but I'd make the argument, and it's a subjective one. I'd make the argument that it's about the way that the manager sets the team up. But with Solanke, he's playing the sacrificial lamb, whereas with Richarlison, he's not asked to do that. You know, so maybe ask less of Solanke. You know, maybe ask Solanke just to sit in the box and let's see. But then Solanke's never been known for his aerial strength, has he? So
I've got some news, guys, fresh off the press. As of now, Tottenham Hotspur Football Club have slipped to 17th place in the league. That's another 3 million down the tube for Daniel Levy.
Scary, mate. Scary.
Wow.
This might be one of the reasons why he wants out, guys. Let's pivot. There's 650 people watching right now, 700 people nearly watching across all socials. I don't know where that's split, but go over to Football Inc. Link in the description. If you're on the Sean Butler TV, hit the like and the subscribe. Same with Football Inc. If you're not, get over to Spurs Talk. Just go round robin. The links are all there in the description, guys. Go and smash the likes and spend some minutes on the other ones. Also, if you're on Twitter, then make sure you follow and also follow JohnnyH3232. And if you are someone that spends time on Instagram and TikTok, then go and find Johnny at Talking Tottenham 1882. We're going to move into the financial side of this conversation right now, Johnny. And like I say, this is a bit of a multifaceted one, right? So we're going to start with the story about Blitzer. Then we're going to talk about what else is going on with Blitzer and Crystal Palace, because he's just invested 30 odd million quid into London, into this, into like a pool hall venue type place, a sports bar type vibe. Basically, the people that created Top Golf have gone into business with him, and one of those will likely be in Tottenham. So there's like a little bit of an overlap there. But on top of that, so we're going to talk about this bit here with the Blitzer thing. We'll talk about Qatar if we can, Johnny.
Can I just say, Sean, just to interrupt, you said he owns BlackRock. It's Larry Fink that runs BlackRock.
No, Blackstone. He doesn't own it. He's Blackstone. He's the CEO of Blackstone.
Right. Yeah. No, I was thinking when you said Black, I didn't hear it. I thought you were talking about Larry Fink at BlackRock.
No, BlackRock have got 900 billion. Sorry, no.
I'm more excited with that one.
900 billion, 9 trillion. Is it 9 trillion they've got, or 18 trillion, something crazy. The Blackstone is the second biggest asset manager, right? And look, so the last part of the story. So I'm going to pivot last. The final bit of the jigsaw is to go and talk about what's going on with the Premier League clubs, the hidden millions, and we'll talk about Tottenham specifically. We'll do that last. But before we get to that as well, you also need to see this article here, guys. This is done by Playing the Game, but they've interviewed Steve Menery. He's quite interesting guy to read. He's done an interview with I think Jason Stevens and a few others in this article. It's quite a cool article to read. But they talk about all of the.
Sean, will you forward that to me? Yeah.
Right now, yeah, no worries. It's talking about the pitfalls of. I'll put it in the private chat, mate. Okay.
Yeah.
The pitfalls of MCO ownership and American owners, and that these guys come in and they want an exit. They want an exit plan before they even get into it. We'll read through it in a minute, right? So, we've got be careful the devil you wish for is not something I like to say because I know it pisses people off. But MCO multi-club ownership is something that I've been wanting Tottenham to get into for a long time if we can do it the right way. But there's that article talks about it in a different light, and it's kind of made me go, oh, okay. There's some stats and facts in there that kind of reshape it. Anyway, let's start with this story from Adam Williams. It's also been banded around in a few other places, but this is from TBR Football. It talks. These articles are quite long. They talk about nothing really, slightly relevant stuff. Anyway. Fenway Sports Group have put less money into Liverpool than ENIC have into Tottenham. Yes, Liverpool has spent a lot more. In fact, since 2019, Liverpool has spent a combined 2.72 billion on wages and transfer amortization compared to Tottenham's 1.63. But if you go back to 2020, when FSG bought Liverpool, the two club revenues were almost identical. Hang on a second. This isn't the bit I want to get to. Here we go. Officially.
Right. Good. So we're back into 16th place. Sorry.
3 more million. 3 more million. Officially, Spurs have been for sale, probably in an auction for a minority stake for over a year now. Though the search for a new equity partner was only revealed in the club's accounts last April, Levy and ENIC have been looking for a buyer for far longer. Interestingly, there was no reiteration of the search in the most recent set of accounts. Good point. However, the long-term situation has not changed, and Spurs are still open to part takeover offers. Several would-be buyers have been linked. More on the competition field later. Among those in the US is US entrepreneur David Blitzer, who owns an 18% stake in Crystal Palace, as well as sports investment portfolio believed to be worth around $3 billion. It's a matter of public record that Blitzer has explored takeovers of rival Premier League clubs. He was part of the financing structure of bids for both Manchester United and Chelsea, for instance, while Everton were also said to be a target at one stage. It was reported last year that Blitzer could be tempted by a minority investment in Spurs, though Premier League rules would require him to divest his stake in Palace. Palace's situation is complicated. John Textor, who owns Botafogo in Brazil, he owns a team in France and a team in Belgium, whose names escape me right now. But generally, John Textor's been very well received wherever he's gone, especially in Botafogo, and I think he's a legend over there. The club's largest single shareholder looking to sell his stake at present, while Blitzer and his investment partner, Josh Harris, may also be looking for a way out. If Blitzer does ultimately sell his Palace stake, it would probably yield less than 100 million, however, which would not be anywhere near enough for even a 5% stake in Spurs at Levy's asking price. However, liquidity seemingly wouldn't be an issue, as Blitzer has just sanctioned the sale of controlling stake in his Major Soccer, MSL, and NWSL sides, Real, Salt Lake City.
Women's, was that women's soccer league?
Isn't that supposed to be MLS, Major League Soccer? Is that just
the MSL is, but I don't know. Is that the women's?
Yeah, I guess so.
I don't know.
Super League, New Women's, North Women, I don't know, whatever. Real, Salt Lake City, and Utah Saints for a combined £450 million. That is much closer to a realistic entry point for negotiations with Levy. Amanda Stavely, for instance, is said to be fronting a group hoping to buy into the club for $500 million. Blitzer is a paper billionaire with a net worth of $2.7 billion, but how much of that is liquid capital isn't clear. I can tell you a lot of it is available. He's got a lot of different investments and a lot of different things. This is outside of obviously his
less money than Joe Lewis.
Personally, yeah, but he's this would just be a takeover that's financed, right? This is the problem. This is the risk. All those things, the risk, like the finance would be there to kind of.
Sean, it smells of leverage, mate. I want someone to come in with the money and spend the money. We got headroom for PSR, FFP. You can come in, buy the club, build all the infrastructure that we need without finance that yourself, offset the £70 million a year in depreciation on the stadium, right, which is what they're depreciating each year, 70 mil. It's not a true loss. And spend the money on players.
Yeah.
Whereas this guy here is going to leverage. I mean, look at Jim Ratcliffe, right? You think he was a smart enough guy. He's come in. He's paid absolutely top dollar. All the money has gone to the Glazers, who have already been raping the club for the last 15, 20 years. And he's found an absolute shit show. And now he's cutting everything. They're now eating beans on toast for lunch. The canteen.
He's not a good guy. You know, not a nice guy. Like you wouldn't want him this is what people say anyone but Levy will do, and I'm like,
well, he's
cutting
everything.
It's madness, mate. He's not like he's into also he doesn't fit with Tottenham's ethos of like it's weird as well when we were like sponsored by Grenadier Ineos Grenadier. Ineos are I know that's just their 4x4 end of their business, but they're a chemical giant, right? They poison the atmosphere, they poison the water, they poison all sorts, far more than the plastic bags tifo that we were talking about last night. And yet we're supposed to be the biggest green club. You know, like it's all odd. I don't want anyone like him. And to be entirely honest, David Blitzer, the value for me in David Blitzer is his relationships and network, right? Like within that kind of portfolio of companies that he manages 3 trillion quid's worth of, there's going to be fledgling data companies. There's going to be companies that are on the leading edge of technology and data and analytics. And I think that I'd like to see Tottenham doing more in that regard. We heard that we're moving in that direction. Don't really know what it looks like. You suggested a couple of months ago, mate, when we were talking about this last in February, that I don't know if you were saying this from your heart or from knowledge, but you were saying that it kind of looks like Johan Langer or whoever is doing it is identifying the players that they want and then fitting the data to support the argument versus look at like, okay, we need a set number 6. Let's go. What does a number 6 look like? The way that I use Y-Scout, you know, I want someone who's got pass completion of 90%. I want someone who's got tackles per game at this. I want someone who can.
You do it.
That's how you do it, right? And then you go from 25,000 players down to like 6, and then you go, okay, now let's go and look at them in the eye test.
Yeah, you don't say, I've got 3 players here. Can you run the data on them and tell me which one's best? Yeah. Right? You do it the other way around. What do we need? We need a monster 6. Okay, we need a monster 6 that can always get forward. It's got creativity. He can tick all the boxes. Okay, we've got 3. We got 3 that fit that bill. How many of those can we get? We can possibly only get 1 of those. Then you go after them. You don't go and say, well, I can get hold of A, B, and C. Right. And
which one? Yeah. Tell me which one's got 80% passing stats.
Yeah. Okay. That's not how you do it.
If that's your data, then just go and use FB refs. You know, just go and use FB refs. That's your answer.
I'm concerned, and I've said this before. I have felt for a long while now that we are window dressing our board because I don't believe that Donna Cullen and Caldecott and all the rest have enough credibility in my book in the investment world. I'm not saying they're bad at their jobs. I'm not disrespecting their job. I'm saying that for private equity investment, you have to have people on that board who carry clout. And Cherrington, being the former head of Citibank, and Vinny, my cousin Vinny, who was offered a job in private equity, was offered a job by the Saudis and Newcastle and turned it down to come and take this job. I think have a lot of credibility. Now, why would they be added to the board all of a sudden? Cherrington representing ENIC, I think it's positioning themselves to attract inward investment and give credibility to the board so that investment can come through. Because with over 15, 16 months now looking for the investment and not finding it, okay, we're standing still. This hotel is meant to be ready for the 2028 European Championships. We're at 2025. I question whether the fact that even if they started now, they might struggle to get that hotel complete.
Have they done the ground? They've done the groundworks on it or anything?
The footings, yeah, the footings, yeah.
I think that's the hardest bit, though, isn't it? Getting that bit right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. To be honest, I've got no idea about property, so or development of it. So the article goes on to say, where did I get to? He would likely use debt, we were saying this a second ago, to fund the takeover deal, though recently realizing the value of one of the biggest sports investments will give him access to better rates. Because if you're putting up more cash, then you can borrow debt as well. But then it depends if you're borrowing more money. If he's borrowing money against the club to bring in 10%, that wouldn't wash with me at all. Plus, I don't like this idea, mate, of American ownership. I don't really like. Daniel Levy. The only problem with Daniel Levy is his risk appetite for me and his willingness to to go at the right times. But there's more problems than that. But like that's just. I would take state ownership as long as I knew what the plan was. As long as I knew that there was, depends on the structure, mate. Like Newcastle United, their fans probably thought that Newcastle were going to come in and just immediately go back because not everyone understands FFP, and they thought that they could. Just come and do things. But Newcastle can't do it. And when it comes to the funding of their new stadium, Saudi Arabia can... That's like chump change to Saudi Arabia. It's nothing at all. It's irrelevant amount of money, and yet they're not doing it. They're not funding it themselves. They're taking debt out, and all from what I've read, to fund the stadium. So I don't really just want to go from one donut to another, because I don't think that the Saudis or whoever, Qatar, give a shit about Tottenham Hotspur any more than Daniel Levy does. I think Daniel Levy cares more because he's at least a Tottenham fan, allegedly. But the only reason I'd get on board with the whole Qatari thing is if it was debt free and if it allowed us to compete. But those things are not.
What it does, but Sean, what that does is bringing the Qataris or the Saudis in enables the projects like White Webs, the women's football stadium, the NFL. The increasing of the medical facilities, which is obviously inadequate at Hotspur Way, the building of the hotel, all of these things will help the club moving forward, right? But they're capital intensive, right? We do not want to be making all this money, getting into the Champions League, having 30 events, and then finding all of this money is going to fund these things that the fans don't give a shit about, right? Basically.
Well, let's pivot away from this story then, mate. I'll let you continue. Before we do, actually, because I want to show you now this story, this thing.
It's not long to the fight. Just to say, Jamie Donnelly, Orient won today. They beat Wickham, and they're in A1 position to make the playoffs with Josh Keeley. But they're playing next week. They are away at Huddersfield next week, and if they can get that win, they will make the playoffs. And what a great effort that would have been with the boys, because I don't think anyone expected Orient to make that. Go on, sorry.
Largely down to Josh Keeley and Donnelly, right? So sensational stuff. So I want to pivot away from that because we're talking about. Sorry.
And Max Kelman, the striker up front, he's done very well. QPR loaning. Go on, carry on, sorry, mate.
Sorry. before we do, mate, did you want to share what you said to me about Qatar, or is that something that's more?
No.
Okay.
I
All right.
can't.
Yeah, no worries. No worries. So, Tottenham Hotspur. This is this article, right? So we're talking about like the need to fund these things off the book. So this article, I'll put it in the description afterwards so you guys can go and learn it. It's mcoinsights.com, and then just go to the insights page and it's the top article. But it's really interesting, right? So basically saying that Premier League clubs are adopting complex corporate structures, basically not having everything under one roof because it makes it better for FFP, makes it better for tax purposes, jurisdictional oversight, legal bandwidth, all those sorts of things. Yeah. But it's not just Tottenham that are doing it. It's every club's doing it to the tune where the 20 Premier League clubs collectively have 154 registered companies, so about 8 per team on average, that are all under the umbrella of their football club, but that are not necessarily directly all doing the same or pulling in the same direction, with a collective cash in bank of 1.6. That's saying 2 trillion. That's miswritten. 1.6 billion. While simultaneously reporting combined losses of 934 million. So the tax man are getting nothing from the clubs, but they've actually got 1.7 billion pounds of cash, yet reporting losses of nearly £1 billion. So a 2.6 billion pound swing over the last 2 seasons. Registering multiple entities at identical addresses, as observed with 100% Premier League club, serves operational efficiency, but complicates financial transparency. Yada, yada, yada. Anyway, here's a few examples. 78% of club directors sit on multiple subsidiary boards. 54% of intercompany transactions lack proper documentation. Only 12% of subsidiary financial statements undergo independent audit. Wowzers, that's crazy. So you don't, like 9 out of 10 of the subsidiary accounts are not being audited like the football club is. It's a lovely little place to hide the money, and that's why that swing is quite as violent as it looks like. £1 billion in losses? No. 1.6 billion in cash. Let's look at, that gives a few examples here. City Football Group's 13 subsidiaries span 5 countries, creating a circular financial ecosystem. This structure allows intra-group transactions that inflate City's FFP compliant revenue by 22% annually. Unbelievable. Like they need more help. Across Tottenham Hotspur's 13 companies, cash in the bank is £375 million. Yet the published team accounts equals losses of £113 million over the last 2 years, leading to a £262 million upswing in cash that is not accounted for on Tottenham Hotspur's books, but will be in a minute when you see it in the various other things that they're under the ENIC umbrella. Chelsea's complex corporate network comprises 24 entities, including 15 registered at Stamford Bridge. 2023, Chelsea reported a £120 million loss, while Blueco showed £890 million in cash reserves. Blueco is obviously Todd Bowley's bad boy. The club transferred stadium naming rights to the Blueco through a £200 million licensing agreement excluded from FFP calculations.
And also the £1 billion that still seems to be floating around missing that Roman Abramovich had in the account. Where's that gone?
Yeah, exactly.
It was meant to be going to Ukraine, I believe, right?
Going to Ukraine, yeah. Never heard anything more about that, did we?
No.
Never heard anything more about that. Yeah. So let's just look at, and we'll scoot through it. Look at the but it's not just Tottenham, right? But Arsenal not as bad. Like, they've got 10 companies. 3 of them are associated at Arsenal. The other 7 are elsewhere. And there's their account difference is 17 million. So they're kind of not really hiding too much. Chelsea, £309 million is hidden. Brighton, £200 million is hidden. Aston Villa are actually the other way. They're down £186 million than what they should be in terms of accounting differences. Anyway, let's move to Tottenham. We only care about Tottenham today. 261 million. So let's scoot down and see what that looks like in reality. Aston Villa's finances are fucked, by the way. They are absolutely fucked. That's why I said to you yesterday, they're doing well, but they have to, because they are all in. They are all in. They've gone like red or black on the entire house. They've sold the house, liquidated the cashes, and
they've gone all in. 96% of income is going on wages.
Yeah, it helps. They probably got relationships where someone's going to scratch their back or whatever later on. But anyway, let's have a look at Tottenham. So ENIC Limited, total assets of 6.69 million, cash in the bank 6.45. So that's just basically a cash shell. Tottenham Hotspur Football and Athletic Club, total assets 610 million, cash in bank 22.34. Right, Tottenham Hotspur Limited.
Is that
total
including the stadium? Which one includes the stadium?
The stadium. The stadiums are down here, I think.
Yeah,
right, so
1 point. They see, I'm questioning that 1.9. I was total, but on the accounts that I was looking at, Sean, it said the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium was down as 1.5 billion asset.
Yeah,
there it's got it 1.9, including the cash in bank. I think that's
probably doesn't include the depreciation of this season that's gone in. So maybe they haven't identified it, or I don't know, mate. I haven't had a chance to look to verify this stuff. But the MCO Insights is a legit company that you'd hope they'd be right about this shit, mate.
I don't doubt it, but the value of the stadium was down at 1.5 billion.
Right. Okay. I mean, fair enough. I can't remember, to be honest, but I'm just going off what it says here. Women's Football Club, total assets 1.7 million, cash in the bank irrelevant.
Doing well.
Stadium Development Limited, total assets 383 million, cash in the bank unreported. So there might be some more money hiding there. As to here, Tottenham Hotspur Hotel Limited, total assets of 800 grand, cash in the bank unreported. Northumberland Development Limited, total assets 20k, cash in the bank unreported. Enfield Property Company Limited, total assets 5 million, cash in the bank unreported. I'm guessing that is for like the area that they own where the chip shop is, or Chick King, or whatever it is, right? One of these is for those.
Well, no, I think that would be part of the, personally, I think that's part of the Northumberland Development Limited, potentially. It's hard to know.
There's zero assets in the Northumberland development thing anymore. So I reckon, yeah, some of these are going to be associated under that umbrella. But Tottenham do own flats.
I wonder why that's called Fairgate at the bottom, because I know they did a deal with Daniel did a deal with Fairview. So
let's have a look.
What is that one? It's property, isn't it?
It's an active company incorporated on 28th September 2017 with a registered office located in London.
I thought it was a property. No, is it another property company? It's still at the Lily White House.
Daniel Levy's the
shock.
And John Colcott.
John Colcott, yeah.
Yeah. Linking back to the main website. Inspection address changed. Interesting. Let me go back to my other page. So anyway, long story short, there's all the assets, the cash in the bank, and a lot of it is held off of like about 142 million pound is held in the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium account, Stadium Limited, which apparently is all going to get fed back into the. That's what they always said, right? The stadium money is always going to get fed back in to the accounts, but that is not accounted for. The cash in the bank is certainly not accounted for on the Tottenham Hotspur financial reports. 100% isn't, because that is the cash in the bank that is there, and that does line up with what we saw in the financial accounts. So there's 142 million pounds sat in the stadium accounts. There's 200 million pounds sat in whatever this is. Well, I'm not sure.
The service. Don't forget, this will be to pay wages, to service debt. You know, I mean, that's not money sitting in there. Before anyone gets any ideas, this is all money to go and spunk on some transfers. You know, there's a large amount of staff and a large amount of servicing, electricity, interest rate payments, and so on and so forth. So
this is the interesting one for me, though, right? If the money that we need
just to say to you, because I forgot to charge my my laptop last night after our stream, and so it says to me I'm on low battery. So
all right, no problem, mate. If you drop off, It's all good. I know the game's starting soon as well. We won't be going too much longer, guys. Maybe another 10-15 minutes tops. But if you want the game on, we can put it on and talk about it. Tottenham Hotspur Hotel, mate. This is the interesting one, right? Cash in bank unreported, so we don't know what it is. But obviously, we don't know whether Daniel Levy needs that 500 million pound.
Well, no, he needs the money. Look. The money he needs is to build the hotel. It's a capital intensive project. You know, that's not going to come in at,
a lot of money here. There's a lot of money there, mate, and there's a lot of money right here that I don't know what I haven't. I'll go and look into it later, but I don't know what this is and what's the difference between this
How
and
much
this.
do you think it's going to cost to build a? How many stories was it? 50?
I've got no idea, mate.
I remember how many stories to build. I know they got it.
Millions. It'll probably cost. I don't know. Like I'd imagine. I'm just massively hazarding a guess, but like 20, 30, 40, 50 million quid. Like many millions.
A lot more than 20 million. Build
50
cost.
million. I've got no idea, mate. I'm not a problem. I don't know that.
Build costs gone through the roof.
Okay. Yeah.
I wouldn't be
50
surprised.
million, I've got no idea. 50 million, 70 million. Either way.
Say it's £300 a square foot. I don't know how many floors they're building, to be honest.
I've got no idea, mate, to be honest. I've got no idea. But it's just, there's lots of, my point is, right, there's money floating around this football club. And apparently all of these things was all supposed to come back into Tottenham at some point. So when is this going to come into Tottenham? Because it says here that total assets are worth around 2.7 billion and the total cash in the bank is 375 million pounds. Right, which is which is like
someone's lying, right?
20 times higher. Unless this is wrong, this is 20 times more cash than what the Tottenham Hotspur accounts would have you believe. Right. So is that money for hotels? Is that money to redevelop the high road? Is that money just sitting there? Why is it sitting there? When's it going to be used? When do we get some visibility on it? Because as they say, 12%, only 12% of any of these assets across all the Premier League, where does it say it? Only 12% of any of these assets of subsidiary financial statements undergo independent audit. So none of us get to know anything about this. Not the tax man,
they don't need to declare it. It's as simple as that.
It's interesting. Certainly very, very interesting. And so that's the question for you, right? That's the question for the guys in the chat is like, should we be asking Daniel Levy to go, well, let's move some numbers around here, mate? Like, not necessarily like robbing Peter to pay Paul, but do a little bit of what Chelsea are doing. We've got all of these things don't even require you to go out to ENIC. They don't even require you to go to Tavistock. Just sell your left arm, this thing, to your right arm.
Sell the women's football club to yourself.
Loan it back.
Sell the women's football club to yourself for 200 million.
Exactly. Like to me, it's crazy that if this is true, then that is wildly misrepresented in the Tottenham accounts. And I'm going to go and do more digging to see if there's any substantiation to it, because these numbers look suspiciously similar, and the fact that they're both Tottenham Hotspur Limited versus Tottenham Hotspur Football and Athletic Club company, like I don't know if there's any overlap here. But look, this group might be wrong, but these guys represent themselves as advisors in the multi-club ownership market. Right? They are multi-club ownership insights, and
Guess who scored again in the 92nd minute?
Sessegnon. I saw someone talk about it in the comments. Yeah, good for him. Good for him. Where were you when you wore white? Look, these guys are apparently, advisors on multi-club ownership stuff. Now, this is the last thing I want to show you guys. Any takeaways on that, Johnny, quickly, before I go to the last story?
No, I'm going to have to go, Shawnee. Unfortunately, I'm literally about to die. I've got it says 2%.
No worries, buddy.
We'll redo this one because it's something I want to go through. I think it deserves quite a bit of time, this one.
Yeah, it's interesting stuff, mate. It's interesting stuff. All right, buddy. Enjoy the game, mate. I'll speak to you later on. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, take care, guys. Thanks for listening. I'll speak to you. Good luck.
Smash the follow. Cheers, Johnny. Smash the follow on Talking Tottenham 1882 on Twitter, on TikTok and Insta, and get over to Johnny H3232. Cheers, Johnny, mate. Love you, man.
Have a good afternoon, everyone. Come on in.
Before I just get onto this last story then, guys, let's just I'll pick up the second half. We'll go for another 15-20 minutes. I want to do this MCO story in just a second, because I think it's all pretty much connected here. Like, it's all obviously football finance. It all relates to Tottenham, where I've been saying for a long time that I think that Tottenham Hotspur are missing the trick. We were the early groundbreakers on the MCO model back in the 90s when we had Slavia Prague and Rangers and all these things, and Tottenham were the fifth team to get bolted in, and every other team in European football, the vast majority of teams in European football now are part of some sort of multi-club ownership, but Tottenham aren't. Is it the last sort of final piece of the footballing jigsaw that is outside of the on-the-pitch stuff that can have some sort of value attribution, some sort of overlap, some sort of dynamic, fluid transition of intelligence, transition of resources, transition of opportunity, where you can bring these things together. My Twitter stream is just finishing for some reason. It's just cut out or whatever. It is what it is. Sayonara, Twitter. If you are on Twitter, guys, then come over to YouTube to watch the last part of this. And let me get rid of that quickly. Sorry about that, Twitter fans. Where was I? Right. I just want to see how's everyone thinking about this. Anyone come in with any comments here on the stuff? Doesn't that hotel block the best view from the skywalk? I don't know. The hotel bill was estimated at 350 million. Oh, well, there you go. Oh, Jesus Christ. I have no idea about the cost of a hotel, mate. It's not I've bought a couple of houses in my lifetime, but never been into property, really. I'm a stock market guy, not a bricks and mortar guy. Is Daniel Thievey up to his tricks again, says Archer? Stadium cash could be used to build the hotel if it's not already covenanted elsewhere. That's true, Reese. There may be a separate company for the training ground facilities, Sean. Yeah, that didn't look like it was referenced. Maybe that was the Athletic Co side. I don't know. Don't die, Johnny, says regards, Daniel. Regards, Daniel. Good name. Good name. Making excuses for spending £120 million on two of the worst strikers in the league. Who's doing that? Not sure who's doing that. What are we doing here? I don't know what you're talking about, mate. We're talking about football finance. What are we doing here? That sounds like back in the day with me, Sava, and Perchy. I mean, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? What's going on? Anyway, let's pivot to the last part of the story. Let me know your thoughts, guys. Let me know your thoughts. But here's the football MCO's crisis. Really interesting. Multi-club ownership is not necessarily about football. Wealthy individuals and investment firms are buying clubs for business leverage, financial speculation, or elite networking, often at the expense of fans and the financial stability of the clubs. The growth in multi-club ownership, MCO, is beginning to slow, but the problems created by investors looking to build up portfolios of clubs, often simply for monetary gain, are not. Issues with MCO abound, from abuse of the transfer system to alienated fans and undisclosed ownership holdings. There you go. Undisclosed. Not reported. Play the game. Started tracking MCO in 2021 when 156 clubs from around the world were found in 60 MCO groups. That figure had grown to 366 clubs by May 2024, doubling that is. And nearly 400 clubs are now controlled by 147 different owners or ownership groups focusing on Europe. The 2009 Treaty of the European Union recognises sports' unique characteristics that distinguish them from other economic activities, but for many of the owners buying up football clubs, this distinctive feature is an opportunity to make money. Jason Stevens, a senior lecturer at University Campus of Football Business in London, who has researched MCO, says to play the game, clubs are seen as undervalued assets. Many experts believe that football clubs have only reached around 40% of their commercial potential, considering the global popularity of the sport. Then you've got a nice little chart that shows the makeup. So across UEFA, 115 different teams make up, 236 different teams make up a part of multi-club ownership groups. US investors look for an exit strategy from the start. This is why I worry about US investors. And this article hasn't shaken me on that. I've always said that. Don't necessarily want US investors. No disrespect to US, but I just think that it always comes with debt, and it comes with profitability, profiteering, and the wrong relationship, which you can argue Daniel Levy's guilty of as well, and so are Enoch. No problem. Not going to disagree with you. But two wrongs don't make a right. Of the 147 different MCO groups identified by Play the Game, 128 have stakes in clubs in Europe. There's now 147 different MCO groups. Wowzers. There was only 60 a couple of years ago. I'm pretty sure. I read, and it said, 60 MCO groups in 2021. Now there's 147. Gee whiz. 128 have stakes in Europe and 44 in the USA. There are more clubs, 38 in MCO in the USA than in any other country, and North American investors are constantly looking for opportunities, but some of those appear to have mixed motivations. Every American investor will ask what the exit strategy is at the start. Just getting in. How do I get out? Says Tim Keach, a director at MRTK Insights, which advises sports investors. I'm not ideologically against MCOs, as the theory of sharing resources is fine. It's nice if you are an English club and you can put a player in Portugal and then get a work permit. Don't need that anymore thanks to Brexit. But we are working on the investment side, and everyone has the same strategy of we're going for a multi-club model. And our question is always, how? There has to be a clear plan. You can't just cannibalize a club. They are all just saying they are going to run things really well, but the plan appears to be buy up a load of clubs and flip them. Some US groups buy 3 clubs in 3 countries, and in 6 months, 2 have failed. Wow. Size of MCO groups. There's only 6 MCO groups that have more than 6 clubs. I think City Football Group is 1. Friedkin might be 2. Liberty Media might be 3. Eagle Holdings, is that John Textor? Has he got 6? No, he hasn't got 6. He's one of the 5 club ones or 4 club ones. I can't think of the others. Is Red Bull maybe? I'm not sure. Red Bull have got 4 or 5. I don't know if they've got 6 or more. Let me know if you guys know. If someone could look that up, that would be great. Financially weak clubs were further weakened by the COVID-19 pandemic, which created opportunity for investors who appeared to offer club salvation. However, there are many examples of how clubs in MCO fail to benefit. In France, where at least 21 clubs are in MCO, Bordeaux and Nancy were relegated to the 4th and 5th tier respectively due to financial problems. In Belgium, there are 16 clubs in multi-club ownerships, and repeated examples of these teams running into problems, including KV Oostende going bust in last year. Another Belgian club, KMSK Danes, would have been a century old next year, but was let down by 2 sets of MCO investors. The Flanders-based club was one of 3 clubs in a portfolio assembled by ACA partners. I've never heard of them. Who are ACA? But in November 2024, the Singaporean investment group walked away. There you go, Singapore. Didn't know that. Another group, AAD Invest, stepped in promising to save Danes, but these promises came to nothing and Danes folded. Fucking hell. Imagine you were a fan of that team, or were a fan of that team. Despite this failure, AAD Invest was subsequently able to acquire an 80% stake in Italian third-tier club ACR Messina, which had been put up for sale by its owners for €1 in 2022. And they only bought 80%. I can't give you the full euro. I need my bus fare home, but I can give you 80 cents. What are we doing here? Tim Keach says that without player trading, the amount of investment needed for a football club just to exist is incredible, and some investors looking to buy into clubs do not realise this. He adds, you see ridiculous people coming from all over the world with no proof of funds. Football has the ability to attract strange people who will come along and make promises. It's very difficult for existing club owners to say no to large amounts of money if you are losing money every year. The impact of MCO ownership and its potential consequences continues to generate regular fan protests across the board, from Reading in England to Troyes in France and Silkeborg in Denmark. For supporters, the concerns lay in their clubs losing their identity as a small part of a large group of clubs and a mistrust of investors looking for a deal and making undertakings that are not always kept. Look, a lot of these stories clearly are about micro teams in micro leagues, but that's the thing with MCOs. Like, you're not going to be able to, Daniel Levy or anyone else isn't going to be able to go and like keep hold of Tottenham and then also go and buy Monaco and also go and buy, Heerenveen. They're going to go, if you're going to do it, you're going to go and buy either teams in terrible leagues that are in the top league, or you're going to go and buy lower league clubs in more prominent leagues. But either way, fans' worries about losing the identity are real. If you are playing pecking order politics in your team, where I don't care if you're from Slovenia or you're from Russia or you're from like Malta, your team is your team. And do you really want to play second fiddle to the bigger boy like Tottenham? Or look at what happened with Bill Foley at Bournemouth, right? He bought Lorient, or tried to buy Lorient, and the fans the ultras at Lorient went absolutely barney because they weren't interested in any way, shape and form being part of a pecking order that saw Bournemouth be top of the pops. They weren't interested in that. Look, and Bill Foley generally is a good chairman. Like he does what he can to help his teams out, but no one's going to be happy. Not everyone's going to be happy anyway. Fans from clubs at the top of the model are not so bothered, but low. Oh, he's saying what I'm saying. Should have read that article first, that line first. Says Neve Omani, Chief Operating Officer and Head of Governance at Football Supporters Europe, which is researching the experience of supporters at clubs in MCO in conjunction with Football Supporters Association. Multi-club ownership is a real worry for League of Ireland clubs right now because there's good value to be had and clubs don't have much money. Denmark is a fruitful area for MCOs, and we're being contacted by a lot of supporters there. MCO is going to be a major topic at our Congress this summer in Malmo. I'd like to go to that. That'd be good. Where there is money to be made, you have people with all these mad ideas about where you can make money, but where is their return on investment? We still haven't seen any data that shows it works out yet. It only works out if you've got unbelievable excellence in your operating system and you've got the money where you can swallow the losses initially. Look what the City Football Group did. Look what Red Bull did. They have brilliant relationships with the clubs. They have these Chinese walls, these fake organizational structures that pretend like there's no conflicts of interest. But of course there are. I'll say it 1,000 times. I'm still pretty confident, 95% confident, that there is a statistic that says that more players have traded between Salzburg and Red Bull than have traded between any two other clubs in the history of European football. It's madness. It's a two-way street. But because they're separately owned under the umbrella and have different management structures, there's no conflict to the point where they can play against each other in the Champions League. It's ridiculous. The movement of players is championed at sports business conferences and by some academics as a key driver for multi-club ownership. There are now more than 14,000 players attached to clubs in MCO, including 8.5 in Europe. However, significant movements between clubs were exposed as a myth in research covering the 2024 summer transfer window by James Corbett for Off the Pitch. This research found that only 6 permanent and 15 loan moves between 33 clubs in MCO in the big 5 leagues of England, France, Germany, Italy, and Spain. This represented just 0.3% of all permanent moves and 1% of transfer spending. That took place in Europe and just 1.49% of all loan moves. Yeah, well, first and foremost, I guarantee you that one of those was... I don't guarantee you, but I'm pretty sure it would have been one of those. Would have been the Red Bull thing. Would another one be Manchester City going with Girona? You know, Girona, Savinho, is it, that went from Girona to Manchester City? You know, it does happen. But you're right, it's not the biggest pick. The biggest draw is essentially shared learnings and the ability to send players out and to find top talent, right? There's going to be top talent everywhere. Plus, it sets you up foundationally in that area. So, like, if you're just hearing about a player from Chile who's 16, who's the next big thing, it's going to be difficult to kind of make that conversation happen. But if you have a club that's in Chile, then you have relationships down there that already know those players and can kind of create that merry-go-round. So you don't have to transition the players between the clubs, but you just get the first dibs on potentially a future that works out. Anyway, loan of players challenging governance rules. Where clubs in MCO are moving the players around, their owners are challenging regulations brought in by governing bodies for the good of the game. Let's scoot forward here to one reason for the slowdown in MCO growth has been an increasing trend of large group investors forming consortia, which can take time to put together and are often opaque. MCO growth is slowing down because interest rates have been up, you donuts. That's the only reason, in my opinion, or the major reason, is because it's too expensive to fund. It's too expensive to fund. When zero interest rates were the ever-present factor in the economies of Europe and the Western world since 2008 until 2022, 2023, it was very cheap to get debt and you could do what you want with it. And if you've got a high growth industry like football ownership, then it makes sense. But when interest rates went to 5.5%, 6%, suddenly it's bloody expensive to borrow money, especially if you're a weak financial entity like this article is suggesting a lot of these people are. So I don't think it's necessarily down to investor forming consortia. I think it's just the access to the costs of capital. The high profile nature of investors can, however, generate more transparency. US actor Will Ferrell, for example, has a stake in US group 49ers Enterprises and a minority holding in English Championship club Leeds. Will Ferrell owns some of Leeds, does he? Wow. Which 49 Enterprise has owned since 2023. Ferrell is also part owner of the US Major League Soccer team, Los Angeles. Let's finish up the article. There's a lot of rich people in their 30s and 40s who want to own a club, but I don't think they understand what it takes to run a club. The networking opportunities are unbelievable. It's a great opportunity to get access to very rich people as a loss leader. If you are a money manager, you can tap into that when you need money in your next money-raising round. That's a great opportunity. It's a very expensive club to be a part of, but as a fan, do you want that for your football club? Probably not. I mean, the article carries on, but it's a good article. How much more is there to go through? Not too much. We'll finish up here. Fernando Reutemann of CIES Sports Intelligence which also tracks MCO, says a significant recent evolution in the MCO landscape is that several groups have been expanding in size, concentrating even more clubs in the hands of a small group of owners. Many of these investors are also connected with each other through other investment in football and sports in general. The result is a scenario whereby direct and indirect links between clubs are becoming increasingly intricate and perhaps complex to appreciate in their entirety. So this article is basically saying that the reason it's not working, guys, is because donuts who got money but don't know what to do with it, don't know how to run a football club, that they're just inept. I think it's a bit of a. I mean, obviously there's some truth to that, for sure there is. Just because you're a wealthy man doesn't mean you understand the intricacies of football. And it's also making the argument that if you're a fan of a football club, especially ones that are not at the top end of the multi-club model, then you're going to be a sacrificial lamb, and you're going to end up more often than not on the wrong side of the opportunity cost. To me, that's not going to affect Tottenham. I still think that Tottenham can and should go into this in some vein, but ultimately, from my research, teams that it gets easier as you go along, as you learn the model. But the hardest part is to go from one club to two, make that a success, and then to three. But you need to know people. You need to be able to take your hands off the reins, trust people to run the clubs that you're not directly involved in. And I don't know if Daniel Levy has the kind of the wherewithal to be able to release the ownership steers. But to me, I still think that a successfully run multi-club ownership does offer a significant amount of opportunity when it comes to accessing markets and when it comes to for the ability to be able to, to especially if it's all part of like a very clear and concise coordinated plan, like what City Football Group did, where they bought clubs and they make sure that everyone at each club is following the same sort of rule book, the same, singing from the same hymn sheet with the strategy, the style of football being played, so that, like Tottenham, if you want to go and find a team for Tottenham's Ash Phillips with the intention of bringing him back into the club a year, 2 years later, you'd like to be able to find the club that can play the same style of football that you're playing. That's not always easy. Whereas it's a little bit easier if you own clubs in Belgium, in Denmark or whatever, and you know that the part of the plan here is we're going to send, you have a team that is a League One standard, you have a team that's a Championship standard, and you have your Premier League, and that can be in England or it can be elsewhere, but that when you send them out there, they're of a certain age for a certain level, playing a certain style of football. And if you do coordinate it, I think it does make a lot of sense. But ultimately, it also does, that particular article, which I think is a really good one, it does actually express that there's a lot more going on with the likelihood of failures than we hear about. We don't hear too much about that. And when you combine that with the other article that we went through a minute ago with regards MCO insights and the ownership structure and who owns what and where's the money, not just at Tottenham, by the way, this is all across the Premier League. On average, every single Premier League team has at least 8 subsidiary companies that are all funneling money into and away from the football club as a means of tax divestiture, as a means of judicial wiggle room, as a means of getting around FFP and PSR, as a means to avoid internal audits or extensive external audits, rather. And all of that looks to me like transparency is the biggest problem. And as I said 1,000 times, guys, the inability to set a strict set of rules that can be followed by everybody, from the Premier League to the Football League to UEFA. Doesn't seem like there's any real willingness or ability to be able to create a set of rules that can't be wiggled through and danced through by everybody else. Anyway, guys, that's it. I'll let you go and watch the football, and wanted to share that with you, but we'll talk about that in more detail on another day. And I hope this wasn't too boring for you. But like, subscribe, and comment, and I will see you on the next one. In fact, before I go, that's rude of me. Rude of me. You guys have been putting your comments in. Let's have a look. Doesn't that hotel block the view? I've done that already. Spurs King. I can't find any recent articles with which quote a price. 67 million was quoted in 2017 construction news article. I think it's probably a bit higher now. Evening, Eltel. Hope you're okay, mate. Good to see you, buddy. Good to see you. When is City getting done? We don't know, mate. That was supposed to be out in March, that announcement regarding City. It's been delayed, isn't it? We haven't heard anything about it yet. You kind of think that Real Madrid's 100k a year seats probably attract these kinds of people, MCO investors for networking. Exactly, Reese. It's an old boys, rich men's club, and you and I ain't in it. but we have to sit there on the side and tolerate our football club being used as pawns in a wealthy man's game. It is what it is, guys. We ain't going to solve anything today, but I just wanted to leave it there, and I'm going to go and watch the second half of the football. Come on. Who are we rooting for today? Palace? Do you want who's it? Palace against Villa and City against... Who's the other one? Whatever. Anyway, I'm out of here. Going to go and get a beer. I'm going to go and give Bugsy a kiss, and I'm going to see you on the next one. Like, subscribe, and comment, my friends. And get over to Sean Butler TV and also to Football Inc. Ciao for now.